Hey everyone, so we're going to start our unit on statistics. It's also the last unit we're going to be going over this year, so that's in some ways exciting. For this lesson, you definitely want to have the worksheet printed out that I put up on Google Classroom, and also make sure you have your calculator out in front of you. All right, this lesson heavily relies on the calculator. Okay? So we're going to talk about measures of center, variation, and position. And a lot of the terms we go over in this lesson are terms that you guys have already heard of. Okay? Okay. So a variable is a characteristic of a group of people or objects that can assume different values called data. Okay? So data that have units and can be measured are called quantitative. Okay, so anytime you have measurements involved, it's quantitative data. Okay, so again, anything that can be measured. So quantitative could be like height, right? Your height is something that gets measured. All right, your age is a measurement, right? There's a number that goes along with it. Okay, time is a measurement. Distance. All of those would be examples of quantitative data, right? Data that can be organized into different categories is called qualitative or categorical data. Okay, so examples of qualitative data might be like organizing something into a category of your favorite color, or maybe organizing people according to their hair color. Okay, gender. All of those would be examples of qualitative data. Okay, so in this unit, we're studying measurement data in one variable, which is called univariate data. All right, so it's often summarized using a single number to represent what is average or typical. Measures of what is average are also called measures of center or central tendency. Okay, so these are three words that you should have heard before. Most common measures of center are mean, median, and mode. Okay, so if you go to the next page, I have a list of some vocabulary terms. All right. So the first one, the mean, is the average, right? So when you guys ask, what's my average in math? I'm giving you the mean, all right? So it's a measure of center, and it's the sum of the values in a data set divided by the total number of data values, okay? The median is also a measure of center. It's the middle value, or the average or the mean of the two middle values when the data is arranged in numerical order. All right, and the median divides the data into two groups, the upper half and the lower half. Okay, the mode is the third measure of center, and it's the value or values that appear most often in a set of data. All right, a set of data could have no mode, one mode, or it could have more than one mode. All right, range is the next word we're going to talk about. Range is a measure of dispersion or variation. So the range is calculated as the following. It's the maximum or the highest value minus the minimum or the lowest value. Okay. All right, so now if we go back to that front page, it says different data sets can have the same mean. So statisticians also use measures of dispersion when analyzing data. Okay, so if you examine the sets of data below, Notice they have the same median and mean, yet they are very different. Okay, so let's look at the range. All right, so again, the range is the maximum value minus the minimum. So if we look at that first data set, okay, we're looking at the age of students on a middle school basketball team. All right, the maximum age is 14, the minimum age is 11. So if I subtract those numbers, our range is 3. Okay, so there's really not a lot of dispersion there, right? We have 14-year-olds and 11-year-olds, still pretty close in age. Okay, now if we go over to the right side, it says the ages of students in a community center tutoring program. Okay, so here my range, again, is the maximum value minus the minimum. So that's going to be 19 minus 6, which is 13. Okay, so here we have a much larger variation, right? We got 19-year-olds, and then we go all the way down to 6-year-olds. Okay. All right. So now we're going to take a look at the third page and we're going to do some calculations. All right. So for the given data sets, we want to find the mean, median, mode, range, and then we'll get into quartiles. All right. So the mean is our average. Okay. So to figure out the mean, I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to add up all the data values and then divide by the number of data values present. So we got 14 plus 16 17, 17, 20, 21, 22, 26, 28, 29, and 35. Okay, so when I add up all the data values, we get 245. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 data values altogether. So we're going to divide that number by 11. Okay, so our average is approximately 22.27, right? So the average or the mean, so again, we did 245 divided by 11. So that's approximately 22.27. Okay. So the median is the number in the middle. So we have 11 data values, okay? So the median, again, is the number directly in the middle, okay? It splits the data up into the lower half and the upper half. Okay, so you'll see the number directly in the middle, the median, is 21. Okay, the mode is the number that occurs the most, so that's going to be 17. And then the range is the maximum value minus the minimum. Okay, so my maximum value is 35. My minimum value is 14. So when we subtract that, we get 21. Okay. So now the next thing we have to talk about is quartiles. So let's go back to that second page with our vocab. All right. So quartiles are measures of position, and they divide a set of data into 4 groups. Okay, Q1 is the first quartile, or the 25th percentile. It's the median for the lower half of the data set. Q2, or the second quartile, is the median. Okay, so Q2 is the same thing as the median. It's the middle of a set of data when it's arranged in numerical order. Q3, or the third quartile, is the median for the upper half of the set of data. And then the interquartile range is the difference between the upper and lower quartiles. So it's Q3 minus Q1. All right, so let's go back to that first example. Okay, so Q1 is going to be the median for the lower half of the data set. So I'm looking at this lower half. Okay, so the median for those numbers is 17. So that's Q1. Okay, Q2 is the same thing as my median, so Q2 is 21. Q3 is the median for the upper half of the data. Okay, so here the median for that upper set is 28. Okay, and then the IQR, that stands for interquartile range, is Q3 minus Q1. Okay, so that's going to be 28 minus 17, which is 11. All right, now here's the really nice part. Your calculator will do most of this work for you. All right, so you don't have to do this by hand. So that's what I'm going to show you guys next. All right, so first we're going to put the information in the calculator. So to put it in the calculator, you're going to hit the stat button, okay, which is, if you find the alpha key, it's 2 buttons down. So you're going to go to stat, and then that first column reads edit. So you're going to hit option 1 because you're going to want to edit. All right. And then you'll see a bunch of lists up here, right? We got list 1, list 2, list 3, okay? If you have anything typed into those lists, you're gonna wanna clear them, all right? So to clear them, you're gonna scroll up. So right now I have L1 highlighted, and I'm gonna hit clear, enter. And that'll clear anything that you have in the list, okay? So right now I'm gonna enter all my data into L1. So we got 14, 16, 17, 17, 20, 21, 22, 26, 28, 29, and 35. All right, and when you do this, you definitely want to check and make sure that you typed everything in the calculator correctly, right? Because if you don't type it in the calculator correctly, you're going to get wrong answers. Whoops. Okay, so we had 14, 16, 17, 17, 20, 21, 22, 26, 28, 29, 35. All right. So once you make sure you have all that data typed in correctly, you're going to go back to the stat button. Then you're going to scroll over to where it says calculate. And then you're going to go to option 1 where it says 1var stats. Okay. Then you're going to scroll down to calculate again, hit enter. And then you get the following screen. Okay. So this first piece of information, the X with the little bar over it, that represents your mean. Okay, so you'll notice we found that the mean was 22.27. Okay, so that's the first piece of information it gives you. Then if you scroll down, you'll see your calculator gives you your minimum value and your maximum value. So we subtract those two numbers to get our range. And then it also gives you your 3 quartiles, right? It tells us Q1 is 17, our median, or Q2, is 21, and then our maximum is, and then Q3, our third quartile, is 28. Okay, so your calculator gives you all of that information. All right.